Hey everyone, hope you guys are doing well, and thanks for watching today's video where we're going to talk about cylinder volume. So just quick recap, remember that volume is the measurement of the amount of space inside a solid. So think about that as in a can, think of it like a soup can. How much soup can the can hold? That's the volume of the can. So with cylinders, it's actually pretty intuitive because we see cylinders all the time in stores and things like that. The volume is just kind of the weight, the amount that it can hold. So, and remember the formula for a circle, A equals pi r squared, we're going to need that. Remember the circle for circumference, C equals 2 pi r, or C equals pi times d. We won't need that for this one, but we do need it for surface area. And we talked about surface area last time, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. But now volume is even more intuitive than those, because if we have, well, first it's pi r squared times h. So what you can really see is that V equals the area of the base, because it's pi r squared, area of base, and then it's just multiplied by height. So you're just taking the area and multiplying by the height, which makes sense because once I have the area of this base, all I really have is just that base times the height right here, again and again and again. The height is the height of the entire cylinder. The area of the base uses the radius that goes from here to here. It's the radius of the circle, of the circle that's underneath. So it's really intuitive, and it's not a difficult formula to use. So let's get right into it. So find the volume of the cylinder below, and I'm given the height, and I'm also given the radius. So, well, I'm just going to plug in my formula. I'm going to find the area of the bottom. So let's just do that here. It's pi r squared, which becomes pi times 6 squared, which is pi times 36. I'm going to write that as 36 pi. So that is the area of the base, and the volume I know, well, that's just the area of the base, and then times the height. So 36 pi times 10, and that equals 360 pi. That's the volume of this cylinder right here. So nothing crazy, pretty simple. All right, so on to the next one here. The ratio of radius to height in the cylinder is 3 to 2. If the volume of this cylinder is 144 pi, what are the lengths of the radius and the height? So tough example here. You see it's a basic formula, but now we're really getting into some tough applications here. So the ratio of radius to height is 3 to 2. If it's 3 to 2, that means that, let's think about it. Which one is bigger? Well, the radius is bigger, right? So the radius equals 3, and the height is 2. But that's the ratio. It needs to be 3 to 2. But we don't know how big it is. It could be 3 times 2 and then 2 times 2. So there's a multiplier here that you can always have with ratios. So that ratio of 3 to 2 is equivalent to the ratio of 6 to 4, which is equivalent of the ratio of 9 to 6. So see what I'm doing there is I'm multiplying first by 1, then I'm multiplying by 2, then I'm multiplying by 3, but the ratios are always equivalent. So what I can do here is I can say, well, radius, let's let that be 3x. Let's let the height be 2x. And now this is something I can solve now, because now I can just solve for x into my volume formula. So what I'm saying is now, well, the radius and the height, the ratio needs to be 3 to 2, but it can be 24, it could be 6 to 4 if I multiply everything by 2, it can be 9 to 6 if I multiply everything by 3. It just has to keep that ratio, and multiplying by a constant will keep that ratio. So let's do the volume formula. So we know volume equals pi r squared times h. Okay, and I also have some variables here. So I know, well, first I know the volume, it's 144 pi. And I also know that I'm going to do pi times r squared times h, but now I'm going to substitute in these variables here. So instead of r, I'm going to say 3x squared, and then instead of h, I'm going to say 2x. And now let's multiply this out and see what we're left with. So 3x squared becomes 9x squared. Remember that when you square it, you have to get to the 3 and the x, then multiplied by 2x, then multiplied by pi. And now again, let's simplify things even more. So 9x squared times 2x becomes 18x cubed times pi. I'm first going to divide by 18 pi. Let's get the x cubed by itself. So 144 divided by 18 pi, 144 pi divided by 18 pi. Well, the pi's are going to cancel, and the 144 divided by 18 actually just becomes 8. So I get 8 equals x cubed. And let's think, well, what x times x times x has to equal 8. Well, let's check. So 2 times 2 times 2 equals 8, so x equals 2. Okay, well that's not the question because it wants what is the radius and what is the height. Well, I need to plug that back into these. So now the radius is going to be 3 times x, and the height is going to be 2 times x, and I know my x is 2, so the radius is 6, and the height is 4. Let me write a better 6 there. Radius is 6, and the height is 4. And the key here is notice that this satisfies this initial condition that says the ratio of radius to height is 3 to 2. Well, radius to height is still 3 to 2 because 6 to 4 divided by 2 is 3 to 2. So our ratio was satisfied, and that's what multiplying by this x does. This is a really important skill for a lot of different applications and a lot of different courses. So I recommend you pause and rewatch and kind of just develop this intuition to why you can multiply by x and realize why that keeps the ratio being the same. And then realize why we substituted that in here. It's because, well, we had 2 variables. We had r squared, we had r and h, but to solve a math problem like this, we need to only have 1 variable, and so that's what we were able to do by substituting in that ratio of 3 to 2. So easy formula, tough question here. I think that's all I have for today. We'll get into some more practice with volume and surface area of cylinders in a later video. So remember the formula here, understand the intuition, just taking the area of the base and multiplying by the height. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a good one.